Have you ever felt that, the initial excitement for a new field, only to then feel completely swamped by just how much there is to learn?
Oh, absolutely. It's like standing at the edge of an ocean.
Right. And maybe looking at a critical career path, something like cybersecurity. And the big question isn't if you want to dive in, but how? How do you actually become proficient, let's say, as a SOC analyst, a security operations center analyst, without just getting totally lost?
It's a real challenge. Information overload is definitely a thing.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take that pile of information, could be articles, research, maybe even your own notes, and we distill it down into clear, actionable insights.
Making sense of the noise.
Exactly. And today, that's just what we're doing. We're diving deep into two really comprehensive sources. One is a guide to SOC certifications, and the other is becoming SOC analyst, a beginner's journey.
Both sound pretty spot on for navigating this.
They really are. These aren't just info dumps. They're more like blueprints, strategic guides for figuring out this complex world of digital defense. So, what can you expect from this deep dive today?
Well, think of this as your shortcut, your roadmap to understanding what it really takes to be an effective SOC analyst.
From the ground up.
From the ground up, we're talking foundational knowledge, the stuff that anchors everything. Then the hands-on skills that actually make you useful day to day.
Yeah.
And, of course, the certifications, which ones can give you that real edge in the job market.
The practical stuff.
Yeah, our mission here isn't just to tell you what to learn, but really how to learn it efficiently. And maybe most importantly, why specific skills and certs are so vital in a field that's, let's be honest, changing practically every day.
It really is evolving fast.
So if you've ever thought about a career in cybersecurity, maybe you're already in tech and wondering where the real action is, where you can make a difference protecting digital stuff, this deep dive is definitely for you.
Or even if you're just curious about what goes on inside a SOC. Absolutely. We're going to break down a practical plan. Our sources suggest about 4 to 6 months, designed to take you from, zero foundational curiosity maybe to being job ready.
That's ambitious, but sounds structured.
It is. Complete with the tools, the skills, the certs that employers are actually looking for. It's a pragmatic blueprint, really, for succeeding in one of the most in-demand fields out there. So yeah, let's get started.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's unpack this journey. Our second source, Becoming a SOC Analyst, a beginner's journey. It lays out this brilliant, step-by-step path.
Nice.
And it wisely starts where, frankly, all good security journeys should, right at the very beginning, foundational knowledge. And it's not just about memorizing facts, right? It's about building this conceptual bedrock for every single decision a SOC analyst has to make.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is how these initial concepts immediately frame how an analyst thinks. It influences every single action. The source rightly kicks off with the CIA triad.
Confidentiality, integrity, availability, the
Yeah.
classic.
The classic, exactly.
Yeah.
But for an analyst, it's not just an acronym you memorize for a test. It's the immediate framework you use to assess the impact of any security event. An alert pops up, you see something weird. Instantly, you're thinking, is this a confidentiality breach? Like, is
Yeah.
data leaking?
Right.
Or are we seeing file tampering, maybe unauthorized changes? That points to integrity.
Okay.
Or has a critical system gone offline, impacting availability, maybe a DDoS attack? This quick mental sort really dictates the whole response playbook. It's the first filter for understanding, the so what of an incident.
That makes so much sense. It's like rapid triage right from the concept level.
Yeah.
And then the source dives into threats, vulnerabilities, and risks. These distinctions, for an analyst, they're less about definitions and more about, constant real-time assessment, aren't they?
Totally. They're not just defining terms in a vacuum. They're actively asking, okay, this alert, does it signal a known threat trying to hit a specific vulnerability that we actually have? And if it works, what's the actual risk? What's the damage to our critical systems or data? It's this continuous loop of evaluation.
So, threat, the potential danger, like malware, vulnerability, the weakness it exploits, like old software, and risk, the potential fallout if it succeeds.
Spot on. And this evaluation is just woven into everything they do all day long.
That analytical mindset is crucial from day one, isn't it? And the guide moves quickly into specific attack types, showing how they actually manifest these principles, like phishing.
Yeah, phishing is a great example. It's social engineering, right? Designed specifically to bypass tech controls by hitting the human weak spot. It often leads straight to a confidentiality breach if someone gives up credentials.
Or clicks a bad link and downloads something nasty.
Exactly, which could be an integrity issue if it deploys malware. And then you have the whole malware category itself, viruses, worms, Trojans. Each is built for specific malicious actions, maybe stealing data, disrupting systems, impacting C, I, or A, depending on what it does.
And ransomware. That's the really scary one, primarily hitting availability, right?
Absolutely crippling. The source outlines that typical flow. Often starts with phishing, exploits a vulnerability, deploys the payload, encrypts everything, demands cache. An analyst needs to understand that whole chain to spot it early or respond well.
Or like DDoS, distributed denial of service attacks. That's pure availability assault, just overwhelming systems with junk traffic.
Right. If your users can't get to critical services because they're flooded, that's a major incident. Understanding these specific attack vectors helps an analyst make sense of the just mountains of log data they're staring at.
Gives it context.
Precisely. And to structure all this understanding, the source brings in strategic frameworks, big ones. The fiber kill chain and IMITR, ADT, and CK.
Okay, the kill chain. Lockheed Martin's model, right?
Right.
Helps understand the attacker's stats.
Exactly. It lays out these distinct phases: reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, C2, and then actions on objectives.
So for an analyst, knowing these phases means you can potentially intercept earlier, like spotting recon.
That's the idea. If you see scanning activity, someone probing your network for open doors, you might block them before they even deliver anything malicious. It's about breaking that chain as early as you possibly can.
Now, what really seems to elevate this, even at the beginner stage, is the heavy emphasis on MITRE 8 TT and CK right from the get-go.
Oh, hugely important. And yet, putting it in early is smart. It's not just another framework. It's this massive, globally sourced knowledge base of actual adversary tactics and techniques based on real-world attacks.
So it's practical, not just theoretical.
Very practical. It breaks down how attackers achieve their goals. So an analyst isn't just seeing malware detected. They're thinking, okay, which MITRE technique did this malware use to get persistence? How did it move laterally?
Ah, so it gives you the how and where to look.
Exactly. It helps understand how attackers operate and where in your systems to look for their activity. That allows you to build much better detection rules and even proactively hunt for threats that might bypass simpler defenses.
That depth of understanding, knowing the adversary's playbook, must really change how a SOC operates, leads to better defenses, I imagine.
Fundamentally, by mapping what you see, or even potential attack paths, to specific ATT and CK techniques, you can instantly see if your current security tools would even detect that. If not, boom, you found a gap.
So it moves you beyond just reacting to known bad files or IPs?
Totally. It shifts the focus to detecting the methods, the behaviors, regardless of the specific tool the attacker uses. And the source mentioning practical resources like handbooks and career paths even here in Stage 1 really emphasizes that you need to be self-driven, diving into these frameworks right away.
Okay, so you've got that theory down. CIA, triad, attacks, frameworks like IMITRE, ATT, and CK. It's all locked in conceptually. What's the very next step then?
Well, the journey, according to the source, moves really quickly into the practical side. And this is absolutely crucial for a hands-on role like a SOC analyst. It's not just knowing, it's doing.
Right, getting your hands dirty.
Exactly. And specifically, it's about understanding the plumbing of the digital world. Stage 2 is all about building those core technical skills, networking and system fundamentals.
Because you need to understand the environment you're defending?
Precisely. And it's not academic. It's the absolute bedrock of log analysis. Think about it. SOC analyst spends most of their day sifting through enormous amounts of log data.
Mountains of it.
Mountains.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand how computers and networks talk to each other, IP addresses, ports, protocols like TCP/IP, DNS, HTTP, those logs are just noise.
Gibberish. So understanding that helps you spot anomalies.
Immediately. When an analyst sees, say, an unusual IP address trying to connect on a weird port or strange DNS lookups to a domain they've never seen, they flag it because they know what normal looks like. That baseline understanding is critical for spotting suspicious connections or weird traffic patterns that could signal an attack.
Right, you have to know normal to spot abnormal. Makes sense. And the source emphasizes Windows and Linux basics, too.
Yeah, because realistically, those are the dominant systems in most companies.
Okay.
And frankly, if you can't navigate them at a basic level, you're going to struggle.
Why is command line skill so important there?
Because attackers often operate at that level. They're usually not clicking around in a GUI. They're dropping files, changing permissions, running commands straight from the terminal or command prompt.
Ah, okay.
So an analyst needs to be able to follow those digital footprints, whether it's digging through Windows event logs for weird logins or checking Linux syslogs for failed commands or strange processes. You have to know where to look and how to read what you find there.
At that low level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which leads right into the core of the daily grind, understanding and analyzing different log types. This is really where theory hits practice hard.
Windows logs, firewall logs, proxy logs. They all tell different stories.
Completely different perspectives. Windows logs might show user logins, processes starting, system errors, things happening on the machine. Firewall logs show what's allowed or blocked at the network edge, IPs, ports, protocols. Proxy logs show web traffic, who went where online, what files were downloaded.
Gotcha.
And the source really hammers home the need to get hands-on with real log data. Practice reading them, because it's through that repetition, that exposure, that you build the intuition to spot subtle, weird patterns or those critical indicators of compromise. Without that foundational skill, even the fanciest SIEM system is just a pretty dashboard.
That's a perfect segue into stage 3 then, getting the right tools and actually practicing. Because once you understand the logs, you need the horsepower to manage all that data.
Absolutely. And the absolute cornerstone tool for SOC analysts is the SIEM Security Information and Event Management System.
Splunk comes up a lot here.
It does, and for good reason. It's huge in the enterprise world. And the source points out there's a ton of free training available, which is great for learners.
So what does a SIEM actually do besides collect logs?
Its magic is correlation. Imagine trying to manually connect the dots. A failed login on a server in New York happening at the same time as a network scan from an IP in Russia, followed a minute later by a weird file download from that same Russian IP to the New York server.
Impossible to see manually across different logs.
Almost impossible in real time. A SIEM pulls all that data together, standardizes it, lets you search across everything, but crucially, it can automatically stitch those seemingly separate events into a single high-priority alert. It reveals that coordinated attack that you totally miss looking at logs in silos.
It connects the dots.
Connects the dots that humans would almost certainly miss in that flood of data. And, alternatives like Elastic SIEM or Wazoo, they do similar things, collecting, analyzing, visualizing data, often open source options too, which are fantastic for setting up your own home lab.
So analysts spend most of their day inside the SIEM.
A huge chunk of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially Tier 1 or Tier 2 analysts, monitoring alerts, triaging them, figuring out if they're real or noise, and then diving into the raw logs that triggered the alert to investigate further. It's their command center, their digital workbench.
But sometimes the SIEM isn't enough. You
Yeah.
need to dig deeper.
Right. Sometimes you need more specialized tools. Wireshark, the network packet analyzer, is incredibly powerful for that.
What's so special about seeing packets?
It's like having X-ray vision for your network.
Here.
We're not just seeing that a connection happened. You're seeing the actual conversation, the raw data packets, the full HTTP request, the exact DNS query, the actual data being swapped byte by byte.
Oh.
Yeah. For dissecting complex attacks, figuring out weird network behavior, or even reverse engineering how malware communicates, Wireshark is kind of unparalleled. You see the ground truth.
Okay, that's powerful. And then there's Osquery for endpoints.
Yeah, Osquery gives you amazing visibility inside the computers, the endpoints.
Yep.
It basically lets you query an operating system, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, like it's a database.
Using SQL-like queries.
Exactly. So instead of manually poking around on one machine, you can write a query like, show me all running processes not signed by a known company, or find all files created to this specific suspicious folder in the last hour, and run that query across hundreds or thousands of computers at once.
Wow, that's huge for threat hunting.
Immensely powerful. For rapid threat hunting, detailed incident investigation on specific machines, finding hidden malware, weird configurations, persistence mechanisms that might otherwise just slip by.
But again, knowing about these tools isn't the same as knowing how to use them.
Not even close. And that's why the source puts such a massive emphasis on hands-on labs and continuous practice. It's non-negotiable.
Platforms like TryHackMe come up.
Yeah, TryHackMe. With specific paths like SOC Level 1 or Blue Team Fundamentals, these are indispensable. Why? Because they're interactive.
Yeah.
Guided scenarios. You're actually doing the analyst tasks in a safe, simulated environment.
So you're not just reading about Splunk, you're writing queries.
Exactly. You're logging in, analyzing data, triaging alerts. You're not just hearing about Wireshark. You're opening real packet captures, finding the malicious traffic yourself. It's learning by doing. That's what makes the knowledge stick and turns it into actual skill.
Makes it job-ready skill.
Precisely. And other resources like Blue Team Labs Online reinforce that need for constant practice. Plus, the specific mention of sample logs like from LogMD or malwaretrafficanalysis.net, that's critical too.
Why analyze old malicious logs?
Because analyzing real-world, or realistic simulated malicious logs, is the absolute best way to sharpen your detection skills, to build that intuition. It teaches you to spot the subtle signs that separate normal noise from a genuine threat. It builds that crucial muscle memory, that analytical eye that no textbook alone can ever give you. You start developing that cyber sixth sense.
Okay, now this sounds like where it gets really intense. Stage 4. You're not just looking at logs anymore. You are responding to actual threats.
Yeah, this is where all that knowledge becomes active. You're becoming that first line of defense, literally standing between an attacker and the company's critical stuff.
The person on the front lines.
Exactly. This is where the theory, threats, vulnerabilities meets immediate, practical action. And the incident response lifecycle isn't just some academic model. It's a structured approach that's absolutely vital when, things often get chaotic during a real incident.
So walk us through those phases again. Preparation.
Right. It starts with preparation, having your tools ready, plans documented, people trained before anything happens.
Yeah.
Then identification, detecting and confirming an incident is actually happening. This is where that alert triage skill is key.
Okay.
Next, containment. Stopping the bleeding, basically. Isolating infected systems so the attack can't spread further. Followed by eradication, getting rid of the root cause, cleaning the malware, patching the vulnerability they used. Then recovery. Bringing systems back online safely. And finally, post-incident activity. The lessons learned phase. Updating documentation, figuring out how to prevent it next time, super important step.
Why is that structured approach so critical? Why not just jump in and fix things?
Because jumping in chaotically during a crisis often makes things worse. You might miss critical steps, you might destroy evidence needed for eradication, you might fail to actually fix the root cause, leaving you open to getting hit again immediately. Structure prevents panic and ensures a thorough, effective response. It keeps a bad situation from becoming a total disaster.
Got it. And you mentioned alert triage again. That sounds like a huge part of the daily grind. False positives versus real threats.
It's relentless. A daily challenge. You get an alert, say, antivirus flag something. Is it really malware? Or is it just a legitimate software update that looked a bit suspicious to the detection engine? An analyst has to investigate quickly, get context, make that call, waste time on false alarms, and you might miss the real fire starting next door. But dismiss a real alert as noise. Catastrophe. It's a high-stakes balancing act. Efficiency and effectiveness under pressure.
Wow. Okay, so once you identify a real threat or even proactively, analysts start creating detection rules. How does that work?
Yeah, this is moving into proactive defense. It's about translating that knowledge of attacker techniques, maybe from MITRE, ATT, and CK, maybe from threat intel into specific rules within your SIEM.
So you teach the SIEM what to look for.
Pretty much. You figure out what specific log events or patterns of events reliably indicate malicious activity. For example, if you know a certain ransomware group often uses PowerShell to download its next stage, you can write a rule to alert anytime PowerShell makes an external network connection and downloads an executable file.
Looking for the behavior.
Exactly. It's about configuring the SIEM to flag those patterns accurately. It moves you beyond just relying on pre-built signatures for known malware, letting you catch newer or more customized attacks based on how they operate.
And a big part of this, both reacting and being proactive, involves IOCs, indicators of compromise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
IOCs are those digital fingerprints attackers leave behind. Forensic artifacts.
Like what, IP addresses?
Malicious IP addresses, yeah. Or unique file hashes of known malware, suspicious domain names used in phishing emails, specific registry keys that malware creates, things like that.
And how do analysts use them?
They feed these IOCs into their tools, SIEMs, threat intel platforms to hunt for signs of that attacker across their network. Did any of our machines talk to this known bad IP? Do we see this malware file hash anywhere? It helps confirm suspected compromises or proactively find infections you didn't even know about yet. Seeing an internal machine talking to a known command and control server IP, that's a strong IOC, actionable intelligence.
This brings us back to MITRE, ATT, and CK again, but the source mentions a specific tool, the ATT and CK Navigator.
Yeah, the Navigator tool is a game changer for operationalizing ATT and CK. It's basically an interactive web app that lets you visually explore the ATT and CK matrix, all those tactics and techniques.
So you can see the whole landscape.
Exactly. And you can use it to highlight, say, which techniques your current security tools can actually detect. Or you can color code techniques used by a specific threat group you're worried about. Or plan out which techniques you want to build detections for next.
So it helps visualize your defensive coverage against known attacker behaviors?
Precisely. It directly answers the question, how well are we defended against how attackers actually operate? By seeing the whole matrix and where your detection gaps are, you can prioritize building new rules or deploying new tools much more strategically. It's a super proactive way to strengthen your defenses based on real-world adversary intelligence, not just guesswork. It really transforms the SOC towards anticipating attacks.
And to really get good at this whole incident response piece, you need practice beyond just theory. The source mentions cyberdefenders.org.
Yeah, resources like Cyber Defenders are crucial. They offer practical, scenario-based challenges. These aren't just multiple-choice questions. They drop you into simulated incidents. You get log files, network captures, maybe memory dumps, and you have to figure out what happened using the tools and techniques we've been talking about.
Like a flight simulator for SOC analysts?
That's a great analogy. It forces you to apply everything, log analysis, tool usage, MITRE mapping, under pressure. It builds that critical thinking, that muscle memory, that ability to perform when things are really hitting the fan. It bridges that huge gap between knowing the steps and actually being able to execute them effectively.
Okay, wow. We've covered a ton of ground, the knowledge, the tools, the IR process. But now, how do you actually prove you can do all this when you're looking for a job? Let's talk certifications. Our first source, A Guide to SOC Certifications, lays out a map here.
Right, certifications. It's important to get the perspective right. Both sources are clear. Hands-on experience is king. Nothing beats actually doing the work.
But certs still matter.
They do. They often act as that first filter, especially for HR or recruiters wading through hundreds of resumes. They signal a verified baseline of knowledge and, frankly, commitment. It shows you took the initiative to study and pass a recognized exam.
So they help get your foot in the door.
Often, yes, especially for entry-level roles. And certain certs are just widely recognized and respected. They become a kind of common language for skills. They don't replace experience, but they can definitely help you get the opportunity to gain that experience.
Okay, let's look at the beginner-level ones mentioned. First up, CompTIA Security Plus Already sounds foundational.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
The guide calls it Best for Beginners Entering Cybersecurity. It covers the broad strokes: security concepts, threats, network security basics, access control, risk management.
Why does it matter for a SOC role specifically?
Because it's seen as that industry-recognized starting point. It proves you understand the fundamental language and concepts of security. It's often the first hurdle for many IT or security jobs, giving you that general base before you specialize. Think of it as Security 101, validated.
Gotcha. Then there's the EC Council Certified SOC Analyst, the CSA. That sounds more specific.
Much more specific. Best for entry-level SOC analysts, Tier 1 roles. Unlike the broad Security Plus K, the guide says CSA is designed specifically for working in an SOC environment.
Ah, tailored.
Exactly. It dives right into SOC operations, log monitoring, using SIMs, basic threat intelligence, incident detection, all the stuff we just talked about analysts doing day to day. So if you're aiming straight for an SOC analyst job, this one screams relevance on your resume.
Okay. And the third beginner one is CompTIA CyC Plus AM, the cybersecurity analyst. How's that different?
CC Plus is positioned as best for junior mid-level analysts. It goes a bit deeper than Security Plus CBEF and focusing more on the analytical side. Threat detection, log analysis, managing SIEMs, vulnerability management, incident response.
So it bridges the gap between basic concepts and actual analysis.
That's a great way to put it. The source highlights its focus on behavioral analytics and defense. It's about training you to think like an analyst, looking for those patterns of suspicious activity, maybe failed logins, followed by weird file access that suggests something bad is happening, rather than just waiting for a simple alert. It pushes you towards that analytical mindset needed in a SOC.
Interesting. Okay, moving up to intermediate level certs, there's an IBM cybersecurity analyst cert through Coursera.
Yeah, listed as best for newcomers seeking a project-based practical introduction. It covers network security, threat intel, IR, and notably SIEM skills using IBM's Curadar.
What makes it stand out?
Its accessibility and the practical project-based approach. The guide suggests it's good for people maybe without a formal tech background because you build things as you learn. You create deliverables, which is great hands-on experience, and potentially stuff you can even put in a portfolio.
Speaking of practical, the Blue Team Level 1, BTL1 comes up next. That sounds very hands-on.
Extremely. Best for those wanting practical SOC skills with modern tools. It covers log analysis, threat hunting, Windows and Linux forensics, MITRE, ETT, and CK. Very relevant topics.
And the key differentiator.
It's highly practical, lab-driven certification by security professionals. This brings up that important point. How valuable are these heavily lab-based certs compared to more theory-focused ones?
Yeah, what's the verdict there?
Well, for a hands-on job like SOC analyst, being able to prove you could do the tasks, work with the tools, analyze real scenarios in a lab environment, that's incredibly valuable. BTL1 really leans into that. It's less about memorizing facts and more about demonstrating practical capability. Employers often really like seeing that kind of proof.
Makes sense. Then there's GIAC Certified Incident Handler, GCIH. Sounds serious.
It is. GIAC certs are generally very well respected and often quite challenging. GCIH is best for analysts working in incident response and SOC Tier 2 roles. It goes deep into attack techniques, detection, response, hacker tools, malware analysis.
So for the response side of things.
Definitely. The guide calls it a respected cert in enterprise SOC environments. It's recognized globally. This is a big step up for analysts who want to be heavily involved when a real incident kicks off, leading the technical response.
Okay, and then the advanced level, GIAC Cyber Threat Intelligence, GCTI.
Right. This is for specializing further. Best for analysts focused on threat intel and proactive defense. It covers things like profiling threat actors, attributing malware campaigns, writing sophisticated intelligence reports.
So understanding the who and why behind attack.
Exactly, getting strategic. The source says it provides high-level skills for Tier 3 SOC or threat hunting teams. This is for people who want to predict threats, understand adversary motives, and inform the overall security strategy, not just react to alerts, really getting inside the attacker's mindset.
And lastly, MyTTNCK Defender may multiple specializations here.
Yeah, Amity focuses entirely on leveraging the ATT&CK framework. Best for analysts using ATT&CK for detection engineering and threat hunting. It covers deep ATT&CK mapping, developing custom analytics based on techniques, and behavioral detection.
So mastering that framework we talked about earlier.
Mastering its application for defense. The guide notes it's recognized in blue team and detection engineering roles. And connecting this back to the bigger picture, how does mastering ATT&CK at this level make a SOC proactive?
Right, how?
By deeply understanding how adversaries operate, analysts can build incredibly sophisticated detections. They can catch subtle behaviors, maybe even parts of zero-day attacks, because they're looking for the technique, not just a known bad file. It allows the SOC to truly anticipate and defend against methods, making them much more resilient. It's about focusing on the adversary's playbook.
Wow. Okay, so you've put in the time, learned the concepts, mastered the tools, maybe even got a cert or two. How do you translate all that into actually getting hired? What makes you stand out?
This is where showcasing comes in. And Stage 6 focuses on building experience and that all-important portfolio for job readiness. A resume lists things, a portfolio shows things.
What goes in this portfolio?
The source gives great concrete examples, incident reports you've written, even if they're based on lab exercises or CTFs. They show you can analyze, document clearly, communicate findings.
Okay, practical writing samples.
Yeah. Screenshots from labs or SIEM dashboards, maybe a cool Splunk visualization you built to track a certain activity. It proves you can actually use the tools effectively.
Visual proof.
Exactly. And notes on detection use cases you develop. Like, here's how I configured a rule in Wazoo to take PowerShell lateral movement technique X. That highlights your proactive thinking, your analytical skills. It's your chance to show, not just tell.
Where do you host something like this?
GitHub is great, especially if you have scripts or code snippets. Notion is another popular option for organizing notes, reports, and screenshots.
Why is this portfolio so much more impactful than just a resume?
Because it provides tangible, verifiable proof of your skills. It takes you from being someone who says they know Splunk to someone who shows they've used Splunk to find interesting things. An employer can literally see your work, your thought process. It answers that, do you have experience? Question, even if it's a lab experience, much more convincingly. It's your personal evidence locker.
Makes total sense. What else helps bridge that gap to job readiness?
Participating. Getting involved. The source stresses community and challenges. Things like Cyber Defenders challenges, Blue Team CTFs, Capture the Flag events focused on defense.
Why are those so valuable?
Because they're practical application under pressure. You're solving real or realistic security problems, often competitively. It sharpens your skills like nothing else, you learn new techniques, and you can even list notable achievements on your portfolio or resume. Plus, volunteering in security communities, online forums, local meetups is great for networking, learning from experienced pros, and just showing your passion and commitment.
Active engagement, and then the interview itself. Any tips there?
Definitely. Study common SOC interview questions, the source advises. But don't just memorize answers. Be ready to articulate your thought process. Interviewers want to hear how you approach a problem, how you'd investigate an alert, how you troubleshoot, the why behind your actions.
Explaining your reasoning.
Crucially important. And be ready to explain your lab work in detail. Don't just say, I did the TryHackMe SOC path. Explain what specific tools you used in a particular room, what challenges you faced, what you learned, how you found the flag or analyzed the logs. That demonstrates practical application and differentiates you from someone who just clicked through.
Bringing it all together, so that condensed timeline, 4 to 6 months. Let's recap that quickly.
Sure. It's a focused path. Weeks 1 to 3. Nail down those cybersecurity basics. Build that solid foundation.
Weeks 4-6. Dive into networking, systems, and basic log analysis. Start reading the digital tea leaves.
Week 7-10. Get deep into SIEM tools like Splunk or Wazoo, plus other tools like Wireshark, and spend serious time in hands-on labs. Build that muscle memory.
Weeks 11-13. Focus shifts to incident response, detection engineering, using IDERI, ATT, and CK. Learn to build rules and triage alerts effectively.
And weeks 14-18. Pull it all together, build that portfolio, keep practicing with challenges, maybe grab a relevant certification, optional but helpful, and start actively preparing for and applying to jobs. Job readiness.
That's quite a journey packed into a few months. So wrapping up, we've really covered a comprehensive roadmap here for becoming a SOC analyst. From those core cybersecurity ideas, through the essential tools, the critical incident response strategies, and navigating those important certifications.
Yeah, we've seen how having a structured plan, mixing it with relentless hands-on practice, and knowing how to showcase your skills can make what seems like a really daunting career path feel, actually achievable.
Right. And the so what of all this? This deep dive isn't just about learning stuff. It's meant to give you a clear, actionable blueprint. You should now have a much better strategic grasp of what it takes to protect digital systems, spot threats, handle incidents, skills that are just incredibly vital and, frankly, increasingly so in the world we live in.
Absolutely. It's about empowering you with the knowledge of how to get started and succeed in this critical field.
So as you think about this journey, here's maybe a final thought to chew on. We know cyber threats emerge daily, attackers get smarter, technologies change. How do you see the role of the SOC analyst evolving? Will it move beyond just responding to alerts towards more proactively predicting and preventing attacks, maybe using things like AI and machine learning more heavily?
That's the big question, isn't it? The shift towards proactive defense, leveraging automation and intelligence, it seems inevitable.
With that in mind, what stands out to you as maybe the single most critical skill someone needs to cultivate for a future-proof career in a SOC? Is it technical depth, adaptability, communication, something else?
That's tough. Adaptability and continuous learning are huge given the pace of change. But maybe underlying it all is critical thinking, the ability to analyze complex situations, connect disparate data points, and make sound judgments under pressure, regardless of the specific tools or threats.
Interesting. Food for thought. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. If this has piqued your interest or maybe clarified the path forward for you, remember all the relevant links and resources from the sources we discussed are available for you to continue your own exploration.